Okay, so let's talk about a deadline that's quietly creeping up on all of us in the tech world. It's one of those dates on the calendar that feels like it's ages away, but trust me, ignoring this one could have some pretty, well, catastrophic consequences for your applications. So let's dive right in. I want you to burn this date into your memory. March 15th, 2026. Seriously, this isn't just another compliance thing to check off a list. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how we manage security, and it has the very real potential to cause massive outages for anyone who isn't ready for it. So, what's with the ticking clock? What's so special about this date? Well, it's not some new law or a vendor pushing an update. It's actually an industry-wide rule change that completely messes with the lifespan of a really core piece of your app's security. And here it is. This is the number that changes everything. 200 days. That is the new maximum lifetime for a security certificate. Now, to put that in perspective, we used to measure these things in years. Now, we're talking just over 6 months. This ridiculously short fuse is the root of the entire problem we're about to unpack. You see, for years, most teams had a process for updating or rotating these certificates. Yeah, it was usually manual, kind of annoying, but it was manageable because you only had to do it every so often. But with a 200-day limit, that old, reliable process has suddenly become an incredible liability. Just look at the difference here. In the old world, you'd maybe rotate a certificate once every couple of years. If one expired, it was embarrassing, sure, but it was a rare mistake, an oops. But now, in this new reality, you're doing this high-stakes manual job constantly. And at that speed, a human error isn't just a risk, it's pretty much a guarantee. An expired certificate goes from being an oops to an absolute inevitability. And this is the bottom line, really. Relying on a person to perfectly and repeatedly perform this sensitive task over and over again is just a recipe for disaster. Manual rotation isn't a strategy anymore. It's a direct threat to your application's uptime, period. Oh, but it gets worse. Of course it does. As if dealing with this constant rotation wasn't stressful enough, there's a very common security practice that can turn a simple certificate update into a full-blown, self-inflicted outage. And this is where things get, well, really scary. I know, it sounds totally backward, right? How can you possibly be too secure? Well, it turns out you can. There's this technique a lot of developers have used with the best intentions to lock down their apps. But in our new 200-day world, it creates this hidden, dangerous trap. It's called certificate pinning, and here's the easiest way to think about it. Normally, your app trusts any delivery driver from a known delivery company, right? As long as they have a valid ID, you're good. Well, with pinning, you've told your app to only trust one specific driver, let's call him Bob, and to slam the door in the face of anyone else, even if they have a perfectly valid ID from the same company. The app is literally hard-coded to trust only one certificate. So here's how it breaks. Your app calls out to the server. The server, which you've just updated, proudly presents its shiny new, perfectly valid certificate. But your app isn't looking for valid. It's looking for Bob. It checks its hard-coded PIN, sees that the new certificate isn't a match, and bam, connection rejected. You've just taken your own service offline with a security feature. Okay, so we've got a ticking clock and a hidden trap. The situation sounds pretty grim, I know, but it's not hopeless. The answer isn't to work harder or just hire more people to click buttons. The only way to solve a problem this fast and this complex is to take the human element out of the equation. It's time to talk about automation. And let's be absolutely clear about this. In a world where you are forced to perform these sensitive operations over and over again, automation stops being a nice-to-have. It becomes a core survival tool. It is the only way you're going to get the speed, the scale, and the perfection this new reality demands. So, how do we actually do this? Well, one of the best tools for the job is something called an Ansible playbook. The best way to think of a playbook is like a super detailed recipe you'd give to a robot chef. You write down every single step in plain, simple language, and the automation software follows that recipe flawlessly every single time without ever getting tired or making a typo. Now here's the really cool part. A good playbook isn't dumb, it's smart. It makes intelligent decisions. You can build logic right into it. For example, you can tell it to constantly monitor all your certificates. The very second a certificate has less than 30 days left, it automatically kicks off the rotation process. It solves the problem long before it ever becomes an emergency. Which, brings us to the final choice here. You know the deadline, you know the huge risks of trying to do this manually, and you know the solution exists. The only decision left is when to act. Are you going to get ahead of this thing, or are you going to wait for it to find you in the middle of the night?
I mean, just look at this. The investment you make in setting up automation is a tiny fraction of the cost of a single production outage. We're talking cost in money, in your company's reputation, and in your engineers' sanity. Proactive work is manageable and predictable. A reactive crisis is anything but.
So, it really all boils down to this one simple question for you and your team. Are you going to invest the time to automate this now, or are you planning on spending a good chunk of 2026 stuck on emergency incident calls trying to figure out why all your apps are offline? The clock is ticking.